Hi everyone, Mrs. Jones here. In this video, we are going to continue our exploration of positive and negative numbers. In the last video, you looked at addition and subtraction with Ms. Carnegie, and today we're going to look at multiplication and division. The good news is that similar to the rules that you learned with Ms. Carnegie, there is another pattern here for multiplication and division. And the good news is that the pattern is the same for both multiplication and division. So for example, you've been multiplying and dividing for a long time. And if I multiply a positive times a positive, or if I divide a positive times divided by a positive, you know that that solution, whether it's my product or my quotient, is going to be positive. Moving on, if we take two negative numbers and if we either multiply them or divide them, that answer is also going to be positive. Then when we think about our numbers being positive and negative, whether we're multiplying or dividing, if I multiply a positive times a negative or I divide a positive divided by a negative, that answer will be negative. And if I do a negative times a positive or a negative divided by a positive, that answer is also going to be negative. So you might notice a pattern here if you look at these two versus these two. So just think about that. If you're looking for a trick to help you remember this, I'm sure you can ask your math teacher. I have my own trick that I'd be happy to share with you, or maybe you want to come up with your own trick to remember these. But again, pause here and think about some of the patterns you might see. All right, so we're going to try these 6 problems. What I would like you to do is to try these first on your own. Step 1, think about whether or not your product or quotient will be positive or negative. And then step 2, go actually do the math of the multiplication or division. Okay, we're back. So number 1 here, we're taking a negative times a positive, and I know therefore my product will be negative. But 5 times 15, if you're feeling a little rusty and you need a little refresher on how to do some of this multiplication, let's break apart this problem. Let's break apart that 15 into 10 and 5. So I'm first going to do 5 times 10, which I know is 50. And then I'm going to do 5 times 5, which I know is 25. So I can combine these two and know that my product is going to be negative 75. All right, 36 divided by negative 4. A positive divided by a negative is going to be negative. And I know one of my math facts that 36 divided by 4 is going to be 9. So my answer is negative 9. All right, negative 7 times negative 8 is going to be positive. A negative times a negative is a positive. And 7 times 8 is 56. All right, negative 121 divided by 11. A negative divided by a positive is going to be a negative, and 121 divided by 11 is 11. Okay, 9 times negative 12. All right, so I know positive times a negative is a negative. Here, I'm going to think about, I know that 9 times 11 is 99, so I'm going to add 9 more and know that 9 times 12 is 100. And last but not least, we have negative 36 divided by negative 9. So I know that quotient is going to be positive. And I know that 63 divided by 9 is going to be 7. So what if we have decimals, or even if you had fractions? What do we do then? Well, the good news is the rule still stays the same. I'm still thinking here about multiplying a negative times a negative, and so I know my product will be positive. So the math that I would have to do, and then I want you to pause and do on your own, is to focus on this 5.31 times 2.1. All right, hopefully you got an answer of positive 11.151. Similarly, all right, if we think about this one, remember here that our parentheses can act as multiplication. So there's invisible multiplication right here. So I'm multiplying these two numbers. I'm doing a positive times a negative, which I know is going to result in a negative product. So pause and I'll reveal the answer. There you go. All right, so what happens though if I'm multiplying more than two numbers, right? Our pattern so far in this video has been about just multiplying or dividing two numbers. Well, what if I have 3? Well, hopefully you've heard of something called the commutative property. And the commutative property allows us to multiply things in different orders, and we're still going to get the same answer, right? 2 times 3 is the same as 3 times 2. So what I can do here is I'm going to use this little bit of commutative property trick to help me solve these. And first, I'm going to focus on what do I know and what do I feel really comfortable multiplying. Well, I feel really good about multiplying 4 times -5. I know that that's going to be -20. So then I'm going to bring down my -13, and now all of a sudden I'm back to just multiplying two numbers. Well, I know that negative times a negative is going to result in a positive answer. So now I have to think about my 13 times 20. Well, I know that 13 times 2 is 26, but if I'm multiplying 13 times 20, it's going to be 260. Okay, similarly down below, we have 3 more numbers. Again, we're seeing those parentheses, and those are going to act as our multiplication. So now again, thinking about commutative property, what numbers can I rearrange and multiply in an order that feels good to me? Well, I feel really good about multiplying -2 times -5. I know that's going to be +10. I'm going to bring down my -16, and now I'm back to just multiplying two numbers. Well, I know that a positive times a negative is going to result in a negative product, and I know that 10 times 16 is going to get me to 160. So there you go. There are a couple tricks. Think about the patterns for multiplying and dividing positive and negative numbers. Think about the commutative property and how you can rearrange in a way that feels good to you. And think about how these rules still apply when you have more than two numbers that you're multiplying, and how you can break it down like I have here on the screen. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to your teachers, and good luck with your work.